Okay, so we did a non-spoiler review. We gave you our non-spoiler thoughts. That's in a different video. Now we're in spoiler territory, or as Doctor Strange would say, now we're in the Endgame. We'll be right back after this.
Welcome back to Pop Pop Fizzle, everyone. I'm Heidi.
I'm Jeff, and we are here today to go through a little bit of an more open discussion with spoilers allowed so that we can really break down our thoughts about the film in a more in-depth way. We did our non-spoiler review, so if you haven't watched the film yet, stop this video now, go down into the description below, and you'll find a link to the non-spoiler review. Don't spoil yourself on this movie. Okay, that's if we have a piece of advice for you. We know a lot of people are rushing out to see it. Right now, we're still in opening weekend. Heidi and I just saw the movie twice.
In 12 hours.
Within 12 hours. We're a little bit worn out emotionally and everything else. So, but and just physically from lack of sleep. But we want you to get the best experience out of this film that you can. So if you have not seen this movie, please wait. Come back to this video later after you've seen the film. If you have seen the movie already, welcome. We're going to talk shop here. We're going to talk spoilers. We're going to talk about our thoughts a little more in depth. You're welcome to join us in the comments below. Feel free to share your thoughts down there. And since this is a spoiler discussion, feel free to talk about whatever you want down there. We're not going to have a no spoiler policy like we did over on the non-spoiler video.
Yep.
Okay. So with all that out of the way, we probably should have planned how we wanted to do this.
Yeah.
But I think it's best to just kind of take it a step at a time.
Yeah.
This movie opens with Clint Barton and his family, which I feel like, particularly the loss of his family. And I feel like because we've had such a break of a year since Infinity War, that it was important for them, and I think brilliantly handled by the Russos, to give us that scene first, so that one, we get to remind ourselves of his family and the fact that he was willing to step out of being Hawkeye to be with them. And we saw the ankle monitor on him, so we know he's still on house arrest, I guess, since the events of Civil War.
Yeah, it's just a reminder for all the people, where was he? There
right.
He was.
So we get to see that, but we get to see the devastation of him losing his family, which immediately puts us back in the headspace that Infinity War ended on. Infinity War ended with us losing people that we care about, and just sort of the, oh my God, what's happened of that moment. So by giving us that to kick off the movie, it grounds us right back in that feeling that Infinity War ended with, and then moves us forward. I thought that was really
really well done. Just a note, we did see it twice. The first time we saw it, it was with a fully packed theater, and the gut punches that we heard as that happened, it was, you could hear the audience just like, oh. And it was so, I mean, 2 minutes in and you were completely back into the headspace of Infinity War.
And I have to say, I really, and maybe it was just me, so correct me if you didn't feel the same way, but I liked that the Ash effect wasn't as obvious and focused on as it was at the end of Infinity War, because in Infinity War we didn't know what was happening, and so they showed it to us repeatedly, up close and personal.
Right.
With Clint, he turns around and we just see a little bit of swirl of ash because where his daughter had been.
It had already happened.
Right, and then when he turns to look at his wife, there's just a little. I mean, it's like only a foot off the ground, like it's already almost dissipated as it goes away. And I thought that was brilliant. They trusted us to know and to remember what that was, and to catch those little details and know how lost and how crazed he must feel that they were literally just right there, and he has no context for what's happening.
Right.
So that was a gut punch right out of the gates.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks.
We immediately then hear music that makes us think of Guardians of the Galaxy. And then we're out in space, where we see Tony and Nebula together. We knew that was going to be the case from some of the trailers.
Yes.
We knew that they were going to be together. But seeing him teach her how to play football with paper,
that was cute.
I don't even know what that game's called.
I don't know what that's called either. It's a triangle football thing.
Yeah,
I don't
know. But seeing that, I thought it was a great character moment for Nebula, because she's such a she's a character with such a haunted, messed up past, almost like a...
Yes, she's so intense. Just everything is just like 110% intensity from her.
Yes.
So, to see her have fun.
Yeah, I mean, and just little things like her saying, "I would like to go again, please." Like, just that, like, she says it intensely, but she said please. Like, there's so much of her character has changed in such subtle ways. And you have to owe a lot of that to James Gunn, obviously, for making that character what it is in the Guardians movies. But then, even what we've gotten from her in Infinity War and this film is following through that character arc and that growth for her as a character. And I didn't mention this to you. This is one thing that in all the stuff, because we've talked a lot about this movie.
Somehow, he slept for an hour and a half and I didn't. So in that time, just imagine that we have talked a lot.
Yeah, we've talked a lot. So one of the things that I haven't mentioned to you, though, is, and listen, going into this, before she was ever Nebula, we loved Karen Gillan.
Yes.
Anyway, because of our love of Doctor Who, and so we loved her on that show. And
we loved her Selfie.
We loved her on Selfie with John Cho. But there's such... I think because Karen Gillan is such a vivacious, silly person in real life. Like when you see interviews with her.
She's a lot of fun.
Now that does... I say silly, but that's not... Please understand, I don't mean that as any disrespect. I mean silly in the best possible way.
Yeah.
She doesn't take herself too seriously. She doesn't take anything too seriously. And yet, she's directed films and short films and she's very active and she knows what she wants to do. I dig it. Her role as Nebula is so different than other things that we've seen her do. And I noticed, especially in this film, there's just nuances that she gives to Nebula, like a tenseness in the jaw and the way that she says words 2 or 3 at a time, as if almost like there's a processor that's taking those words from here to here or whatever, and just like there's like jaw movements and things that are very mechanical that are not a part of her natural behavior, and just that you can bring such subtlety and such little nuances to that character really makes somebody like Nebula, who could be really one note otherwise, it really brings a lot of depth to that character. And I found that endearing across the span of films that we've seen that character in, but especially in this one, just getting to see sort of the payoff of all the growth, her tenderness with Tony to lift him up off the ground and place him in the chair, to not take his food because she knew that he needed it more than she did. That's such a different character than that first Nebula. And of course, this film gives us the chance to compare and contrast those two Nebulas.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, which was also brilliant. So we get to see that, and then we get to see hope on the horizon. Tony wakes up and sees Captain Marvel outside the window of the Benatar. And then we get to see her bringing them home. His first question is about Pepper, and she's there. But I love that, like, the very next thought, when, Cap is trying to hang on to him, help him walk, that he lost the kid. Really a strong payoff of the beats that they've sewn in between he and Peter from, Civil War through Homecoming and into Infinity War. We saw his heartbreak as Peter disappeared in Infinity War, and to know that that's such a weight around him, around his heart, pulling at him. And then we get, and we'll come back to other things, but then we get that 5-year jump, and we see that he still has a picture of Peter. It still means something to him. Having a kid didn't change the fact that he feels awful about what happened to Peter, and that he cared for that kid. And it's been a very cool through line for him as a character.
Yeah.
Because of his own father issues, that he is connected to Peter in a very fatherly way, so much so that in Homecoming he has that line about, listen, I never got, my dad was never the guy to give me compliments. I'm trying to tell you here that I think you're doing a good job, and it's all in that bad moment where Peter's trying to cut him off and whatever. So there've been all these little hints at he really loves this kid. It's just he's not that guy. It doesn't come naturally to him. It doesn't come easy to him. And we get to see that probably that's because he's his dad's son. Maybe it didn't come that easily to his dad either. but it really cool to see that relationship, to see that it weighs heavily enough that it's literally after asking about Pepper, it's the second thing that he really says is I lost the kid. The effects. Do you want to talk about? You and I both discussed the effects on Tony.
Oh my gosh. So, just the fact that he was in space for 3 weeks with little to no food, water, and all of that, he came back like looking like a prison camp survivor.
Yeah.
And they did really well with that. I mean, like when he took off his thing, you could see the outline of every rib on his chest, and I thought that was pretty amazing. He looked sick, and he was obviously not doing very well mentally still.
And along the same lines, they've done a really good job with the de-aging in a lot of these Marvel movies. A similar thing, because I know that, probably a lot of the work that they did with Robert Downey Jr. in the scene that Heidi's talking about is probably very similar to what they did for Chris Evans as skinny young Steve Rogers before he became Captain America. But they really did a good job, like Heidi said, making him look sickly. But then later in the film, to jump ahead just a little bit, the old age look for Chris Evans was amazing.
Yeah,
and so realistic.
Yeah.
Did not hinder his performance in any way. It wasn't like covered up with tons of makeup. It was, I'm sure, probably a mixture of practical and digital, but it was so well done.
So well done.
So all through this, I felt like the effects were really.
No expenses.
I didn't see. Now again, we've seen it twice. Emotions pretty high both times. So when I get this on Blu-ray eventually and have a chance to like watch through it a million times, I may see some things that I'm like, oh, that effect wasn't as good as it could have been, or something. But I didn't really catch anything like that in these two viewings.
Well, and then just to be fair, so we went to the very first viewing with a full audience. Right. People were reacting.
In a sweatbox.
I don't know what happened to the air conditioning in that theater, but like it was probably the equivalent of being in a convention and in line for like 5 hours.
Right.
Like I was sweating. I don't get hot. Like I don't get super hot except like when I'm changing shifts at work. So I don't get that, and I was sweating. And so that was a little distracting. And then our second viewing, I don't know what was wrong with the guy that was next to me. Like it was like a constant like loop of Beavis and Butthead like laughing next to me. So that was a little distracting, so I couldn't catch some things that I probably would have liked to have heard. And it was a half full theater because it was 9:30 in the morning. So it was, and we hadn't had much sleep. So there's that. So yes, so when we do get the Blu-ray and have a chance to watch everything and all the deleted scenes and really kind of pick it apart, we may have other things to say, but it looked fantastic. It looked so good.
It really did. So much of the moments that counted, especially, done really well. We mentioned this in the non-spoiler review, but it's worth mentioning again, that the movie really sort of ran the gamut of comedy and sorrow and excitement and hope, and it really kind of wove us through a lot of different sort of emotional moments without it ever seeming too jarring.
Yeah. Well, 21 movies to make us really care about these characters and really understand their motivations and everything that they were putting into this, whether they made it at the end of Infinity War or not. We know where every one of these characters was coming from. And it was just so much payoff for all of that as well.
Which is a huge responsibility for the Russo brothers to have that weight on their shoulders to pay off 21 movies and that came before it, and to do so as deftly with character moments, giving every character a chance to shine. They did a great job with that in Infinity War. Gosh. Anyway, this movie's no exception. Now, there are different characters that shine in Infinity War than that shine in Endgame. And I think that was purposeful, to give everybody over the course of those two movies a real chance to shine. But I thought everybody had, even the more, I say minor, there really aren't any minor characters, but even the ones that aren't the center of their particular franchises.
They're lesser screened.
Right, got moments to shine in this film in one way or the other. So that's great. I do want to talk about a little bit the sort of callbacks and payoffs and things to.
My gosh.
So
many of them.
Yeah, before we go into that though, we are sponsored this video by me. So I'll show you. Shadow Plays, my latest book, came out in November. For a brief time, we're running a special for 20% off if you use promo code ShadowPlay on my website. I'll put that. Sorry, Shadow. That's right. Promo code Shadow on my website. I'll put that down here. It's available on Amazon too, but there's no promo happening on Amazon right now. But if you want that and you have Amazon Prime, don't want to pay shipping or something like that, go check it out on Amazon. The link to that will be in the description as well. So jump into callbacks and payoffs. So many in this film.
So many.
We're bound to miss some. So forgive us or judge us harshly. It's the internet. However you'd like to do that.
Yeah. That's what the internet's for.
That's right.
Harsh judgment.
Yeah. So the payoffs start or the callbacks start, early on and kind of go all the way through. We do get Hawkeye calling his daughter Hawkeye, which is really the first actual mention of the name Hawkeye. He gets referred to as the Hawk once in the original Avengers.
Every other thing is Clint or Barton.
Yeah.
That's it.
So he refers to his daughter as Hawkeye, which is nice. Then we get throwbacks to, let's see, we get Tony's original arc reactor, and in the funeral scene, we get On Your Left, callback.
We get a lot of comic book Easter eggs as well, with Captain America saying Hail Hydra.
Yep, that, which was also a nice throwback. Sorry, I've got something in my eye. Also a nice throwback to the elevator scene in Winter Soldier.
We get to see Nebula holding the Infinity Gauntlet at some point, right?
Very briefly.
Very briefly, which is just
which is a slight nod to the original comic. And then also just sort of, we got to see Peter's kill mode.
Activate kill mode.
Which was, it's like, why insta-kill, which is like, why would he have that mode? Well, that's why. Because Tony knows that situations like that happen. You may not be facing human beings, and you just need to go for it.
So that was awesome.
So cool to see that.
Captain America calling him Queens.
Yeah, Captain America calling him Queens was a really nice throwback to Civil War, and their sort of a little bit of bond from both being from New York. That was really pretty cool. And also, of course, the big ones, the big moments that in the theater were the big crowd-pleasing moments, such as, of course, Captain America calling Mjolnir to himself.
That was so
and holding
awesome.
and getting to see that, and how well, and that was one thing Heidi said, like, immediately. She was like, how well he handled that hammer, like, right from the get-go.
Yeah, no, like, learning curve there. He knew exactly what to do with it, which, I mean, granted, he saw Thor use it before, but,
But it's also, I think, an instinctual, like, willpower, and, like, he's just not holding back, so he's all in.
Yeah.
And
it was pretty awesome.
That in and of itself was, like him using him throwing the shield and then throwing the hammer to hit the shield to make a concussive thing and knock Thanos down.
That was awesome. And then just shooting him like lightning bolt after lightning bolt after. I'm like, that is like the comic, like not comic, the video game like multiple shot thing, like just combo shot.
And
it was awesome.
And I just love the look on Thor's face and him saying, "I knew it." Nice callback to Age of Ultron. When we saw Cap nudge Mjolnir. And the look on Thor's face was like, what was that? But yeah, very cool. And of course, that's an Easter egg that throws, owes its origins to comics as well, wherein Captain America has held Thor's hammer before. But nice to see that finally happen in the movie. Nice to see that Cap is indeed worthy.
And he gets to say his phrase.
Yeah, that's right. And we finally got to hear Avengers assemble in one of the finest moments of this film.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so it was. I'm getting emotional just thinking about it because I've been a comic book fan since I was younger than 11. I say that because I don't remember exactly when I started reading comics, but I know I was buying them for myself by the time I was 11. But yeah, that moment, and we were talking about this, as I said, I think I said in the non-spoiler that we took my oldest daughter to see it this morning, and we were talking about the notion that, right when Thanos calls the army in, and we're seeing just the overwhelming display of force that he has at his command. And Cap's already been beaten down, shield broken, the whole thing. Tony's out, Thor's out, and Captain America's left on the battlefield. And I told my daughter, I said, that he didn't even need to say, "I could do this all day." He didn't need that line anymore. He just strapped that shield on tighter and got up. And then that nice wide shot of him just walking the expanse between him and Thanos.
Tiny little Captain America compared to the entire
because
expanse.
It was never going to be over while he was still standing.
Yeah.
And so that shot was emotional and impactful enough before he heard Sam come through on the radio and say, "On your left."
Yeah.
Everything that followed after that.
I'm not.
I've made no bones about that. Like, I love the Black Panther film, but Black Panther as a character is not a character that I'm particularly drawn to. But watching he and Okoye and Shuri come out of that portal and step onto the battlefield made me want to stand up. I didn't, because I didn't want to block anybody's view. But it was a very exciting moment. Then watching all the characters entering one by one.
The crowd went wild in our first viewing. It was amazing. Like, everyone was just shouting and clapping and like cheering. It was fantastic.
Yeah, got quite a few shrieks when Spider-Man swooped in because Strange opens that portal and then we get to see Mantis and Drax step through. And then Quill comes through and takes the helmet off, and then Peter's.
But he got that nice big front and center hero shot, which was just like
the crowd went crazy.
Yes.
Because his death was horrible, so everybody was so happy to see the kid alive. His first scene with Tony, too, when he was back, where he can't stop talking,
it was just
was so Peter, and him
perfect.
Getting that hug that he wanted in Homecoming, that Tony said they weren't quite there yet for,
that was
really
pretty
sweet.
awesome. Yeah.
Hard to not be emotional in those moments, and I don't apologize for any of that. We've spent 21 movies with these characters with some really good story beats, really good character work. I don't think there's anything, and I've seen some people online talking about how shameful it is that grown men will get emotional at a comic book movie or whatever. But you know what? Stories are meant to move us. Stories are meant to connect with us, and yes, the movie's about superheroes and aliens and all kinds of things that just don't exist, but they're really human emotional beats about friendship and compassion and kindness and
loyalty,
hope and loyalty, and standing up against adversity and knowing that it's okay to not be strong enough on your own, to know that you need help, to know that you need friends. There's a lot of good messages in these movies, and I'm not going to apologize for being emotional about that, and I don't think you should either. I think just the way that this movie was handled, the way that they gave us an ebb and flow of moments where we're cheering, moments where we're laughing, moments where we're crying. That it was a roller coaster ride, because you'd get moments like Thor telling Captain America that you give me that one, you take the smaller one, which was such a Thor thing to say, because Thor is like that big jock in college that always wants the best and the cool stuff and whatever. And the way he talks always kind of has that vibe to it. So yeah, it's okay. I'm okay with you take the smaller one. That also just that made me laugh. The line about what do you think is flowing through my veins? And Brody saying cheese whiz.
That was great.
Yeah, some of those moments were great. But then they'd go from a moment like that to like Cap's speech as they're standing on the time platform about to do the time heist, as Scott calls it. And the way Tony looks at him, like, I get why my dad liked you. Like, I get it.
Finally.
And then, just going from those moments that are inspiring or funny to character moments, like with Clint and Nat, as hard as that scene was to watch, what a payoff for those two as characters and their connection for one another, their relationship with each other.
And then, unexpected connections like between Rhodey and Nebula, you wouldn't think that they would have anything, but then...
Tony and Nebula, even. And both of those were handled well. They didn't need too much.
No, just enough. And those character moments still rang true, even though those people didn't necessarily ever spend time together before they had to in these events.
So many parallels too in this movie to mirror something that we've seen before. In the Guardians movies, it's Gamora pulling at Nebula to embrace family and to embrace doing what's right against the odds, that she's the one that pulls Nebula out of herself to becoming the character that we get in this film. And then when Nebula's in the past, she gets to do the same thing for Gamora. You know you don't trust him. You know what he's going to do with this stuff. Now's your chance to stand up and help. Now's your chance to do something. And that's a really nice mirror image. Likewise, at Tony's death, which is really sad and really hard to watch, you get Peter kneeling down with him, much the same way that he knelt over Peter in Infinity War, and lots of nice mirrors of that stuff. Again, Sam saying "on your left," all those things. Bucky saying back to Cap what Cap said to him in the first Avenger about not doing anything stupid while he was gone.
Yeah.
All of those things are such sweet callbacks for these characters that we've invested in, and they've taken their time. And here's the thing: we want to, and we have enjoyed some of the DCEU movies, and we always want to give them the benefit of the doubt. We enjoyed Aquaman. We enjoyed Wonder Woman.
Yep.
Even the ones that really weren't my cup of tea, like Suicide Squad, I enjoyed okay. It was fine for a popcorn flick. But I think where they've missed the mark is not taking their time.
And that's exactly what I was thinking also, is that when I said that we spent 21 films with these characters really building up to this payoff, whereas Batman versus Superman, if we had spent any time with either of those characters, and if those characters had been the characters that we had grown to love in other media formats, even that Martha scene would have had more impact and would not have been a joke. Right. I think that would have made much better sense if we'd had more time to grow with them, and it fell flat because they were just trying to rush it, and it just wasn't, like, we know these characters, but we don't know these film characters, so it just didn't ring as true, unfortunately. And so it's just like this film, Endgame, really pulls into sharp relief what it really takes to make a successful movie franchise and extended universe, or whatever you want to, the MCU is a real thing, and DCEU just tried and flopped on it. It just didn't. We like those movies. No hate. We like those movies. It's just, we can see. It's
the difference between making a mediocre action film that might be good for a fun watch every now and then, and making a great film that's interconnected in a way that gives added depth to little scenes, little moments. Listen, if we had not followed Tony Stark on his journey from Iron Man through to this film, that moment with Howard in this movie when he time traveled wouldn't have meant as much.
No. And just like, even there's so many things that just wouldn't have just had any impact whatsoever, and it would have been just like throwaway things that people had thrown in there and like expecting you to understand it without ever seeing anything that had come before. We can't do that. So taking the time to do it right really paid off for Marvel, for sure. As
I said, moments that made me want to get out of my seat. Definitely the Avengers Assemble moment. Definitely Cap with Mjolnir. Definitely Wanda landing in front of Thanos and saying, "You took everything from me." And he said, "I don't even know your name." She said, "You will." Yeah. I've got a lot I need to say to you. A lot, you're going to answer for this thing. Yeah. All of that was great. I loved several just little character moments. We got that little introduction between Carol and Peter Parker, which I thought was great.
That was so cute.
We got, I thought it was interesting. You and I talked about this before, was like in that 5-year gap. We see that like Rocket and Nebula have been off together in that 5 years. They're out there trying to help.
Adventures of Nebula and Rocket.
What a jump. What a jump for both of their characters. Yeah. Because Rocket doesn't really like anybody, or at least he pretends not to. Nebula also, and the two of them out there together. I imagine that's hilarious, but I also think it speaks highly of their characters.
What parts has he stolen from her?
Right, but I also think it speaks highly of their characters. Yes. And then Rhodey leaving it to Natasha to deal with Clint if she chooses to. He's not pushing it. He's just saying, look, we know it's him. We know he's out there. We know he's doing this stuff. And she doesn't have any hope to offer him, so she's not going to get in the middle of it.
No.
She's going to let him grieve however he's grieving. All of that stuff just so... Like, if you didn't know those characters, if you hadn't spent the kind of time with them that you have through these movies, those moments wouldn't mean so much. I thought everybody's acting was at the top of their game.
Totally brought their A game on this one.
Now again, some characters don't get anything to do. I think Drax has a line. Mantis has a line or something. And
I don't think Shuri even had.
Shuri didn't have any lines. I don't think. But you get so many people that get their moment to shine, even if they don't have a line. Seeing Drax jump on the back of that thing and stabbing at it like a bunch, and while Korg is fighting it from the front. Those kinds of things matter. I mean, to us as fans who watch these things, cool to see them in the same frame, cool to see them fighting the same guy.
Yeah. I mean, I had somebody ask me, listen, if I hadn't seen any of these movies, can I go see this movie? And I was like, yeah, I mean, this would be enjoyable, but you'd spend your entire time going, who's that? Why did they say that? What happened there? Why was this?
Why does that matter?
Why does that matter? And then my other thing is, like, really, I mean, I can't imagine anyone going to see this without at least going to see Infinity War. Like, I know that people think, oh gosh, 21 films, that's such an investment. It is. I get it. It really is. But I mean, if you hadn't seen any of them, the only one you really should see before this is Infinity War, so you could at least know who the key players are. Right. So, but for everyone else who's seen all the other films multiple times, I think we've seen every one of them at least 3 times. I think Thor: The Dark World is the one we saw the least, but I think we saw...
In theater, you mean?
Well, in theaters and in general, I think we saw
I've seen Thor: The Dark World several times on Blu-ray myself.
Okay, but sure. I feel like I've seen it only maybe 3 or 4 times. So that one was the least, but 3 or 4 times. So for everyone else who's done this movie is such perfection. It's just without a doubt. And I love the use of every one of the characters. Now this is one thing that we were talking about after Captain Marvel is, what are they going to do? Like, we've heard interviews and other things where people were saying that she's the strongest character ever, and that's debatable. I'm not gonna argue about that. But I loved, and we both talked about this as well, that they didn't use her, like, she wasn't like the overpowered thing that was going to beat Thanos.
She wasn't the Deus Ex Machina that they brought in at the last moment to beat him. Now, she was tough, and she was able to stand toe-to-toe with him for a little bit, but he's a warrior, he's cunning, he's,
strong.
Yeah, and just, inevitable, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was cool to see her bring that kind of power to the party and turn the tide at a crucial moment.
I fail to see how this is a party.
But that didn't take away from what was happening and from other characters and their strengths and their moments. Now, we said in the non-spoiler review that no movie's perfect, and certainly this movie is no exception. The one moment that took me out of this movie was, and as some people have already listed it as their favorite moment.
Oh, really? Okay, so, I mean, you're about to say it, but this calls back to my eternal dislike of the soundtrack of Captain Marvel. It's just too on the nose. Sorry, girls.
Yeah. The moment where we got the wide shot of all the women coming to back up, Captain Marvel as she made her end run around Thanos, or tried to. While awesome in theory, seemed ham-fisted and a little strange. You got all these fights happening all over this battlefield. What are the odds that all these women notice what's happening or are paying attention to what's happening over there?
I mean, women can pay attention to a lot.
Right. Certainly more than I can. But no, I mean, just what are the odds that they would all assemble, for lack of a better word, right there to have her back in that moment? Like, if you'd given me like 5, I'd say sure. But having as many as they had there, it just seemed too like, hey, we need a moment where all the girls get a chance to shine, which to me is kind of demeaning.
Yeah.
Like, they were already shining.
Yeah.
They were out there kicking butt and taking names, just like, or
taking taking
Yeah.
names. I can't do it.
However Mantis did it. Yeah,
Yeah.
but no, they were out there doing that already. Like, we didn't need to separate them so that it was noticeable. We knew. We got it.
Yeah, and the thing is, I feel like it was maybe just a little bit of a callback to the girl fight that happened in Infinity War. That made more sense. I mean, it was sparser at the time.
But
so.
but I mean, like, okay, so given that, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you had Carol and the people that knew Natasha,
Mm-hmm.
like Scarlet Witch, or even Pepper.
Mm-hmm.
Pepper knew Natasha.
Yeah.
Or if you'd had like a few people that knew Natasha land right there next to Captain Marvel and go for Natasha, and then go running off to look with her, totally buy that, totally in, right?
Or
it
say
just
she's not alone.
right.
Say
It's
those
just and Okoye, yeah. But if you'd given me just like that handful or whatever, but it was like all of the women gathered in one spot in one moment for what amounted to a publicity photo. Look.
There they all are.
Snap the picture. It's
all
the girls.
Yep.
It strikes me just as odd. So, and I was thinking about this because there's the notion to say, well, anybody that has a problem with that, it's a misogynistic thing or whatever. But it's not. It's really a reality character thing.
Not a misogynist.
but the whole notion. So, like when they headed off to space to fight Thanos, right? Mm-hmm. If that ship had been filled with men and Captain Marvel hadn't been there and Natasha hadn't been there or Nebula hadn't been there, I would have been like, why is it all the dudes?
Yeah, where are the girls?
Why are all the dudes going? Yeah. Like, I would have had that same feeling about that because it wouldn't make any sense. They all have a stake in the fight. They're all trying to accomplish the same mission.
And they're all pretty darn powerful.
Right. So it's the same kind of thing. It just, to me, doesn't hold up. To the sense of the moment. Mm-hmm. But whatever. It took me out for like half a second where I went, yeah, that's kind of ham-fisted. And then I was right back in. Yeah. So it doesn't matter.
As soon as they dispersed, it was like, okay, let's get back into this whole big battle.
Right.
Where literally every one of those females was shining on their own.
Sure.
So there wasn't a need for the girl power moment there.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Yeah, the nice full field run with the gauntlet from Hawkeye to T'Challa to Peter to Carol, all of that stuff was handled so well. I love that, and it gave some great moments. Peter still being a kid, totally amazed by everything that's happening around him and overwhelmed.
Hi, oh wow! Yeah, it was great.
All of that stuff
was fantastic.
Great. I wanted you to talk a little bit about, there's a lot. Obviously, and we're not going to get everything here, so you can forgive us for that. I wanted you to talk a little bit about that moment at the end with Tony and sort of the beats of those characters saying goodbye, because there were some important things that you noticed about that we discussed afterwards.
Well, I mean, we both talked about it. So the one thing that, Jeff brought up is that, Rhodey, being a soldier, immediately saw that, we already got the preface that nobody would really be able to survive using those stones.
Right.
We already got that.
Yeah, the Hulk made that clear.
Yeah.
That he was probably the only one that could
do it. But so that there was that. But Rhodey, being the soldier, definitely knowing what he was looking at when he saw Tony.
And he doesn't need to say anything.
He doesn't. And he doesn't.
He's just there.
He just paying respects already. Just, just silent.
And just being with your buddy.
Yeah, silent sort of support. The next one in, and of course you also notice Peter, Spider-Man, being himself, still always, but again, as you said, the kind of the reverse of the end of Infinity War, where he was standing over him, but he was trying to sort
letting him know that they did it,
that they won, that was trying to coax him at he's Peter, he's 17, 18, however old he is.
I love that he calls him Mr. Stark throughout that thing.
Yeah, just
and then right as he's being pulled away by Rhodey, he says, "I'm sorry, Tony."
Yeah. Pepper comforting Peter before stepping in, which is completely in her character.
Yeah, just her hand on his shoulder. And I think some of that's because she understands how much Tony cares for him.
Mm-hmm. So just giving them that moment. But the thing that you were kind of setting me up for and that I noticed is that, that she was telling them that they were going to be okay. Making sure that he knew that.
No tears.
Just strength.
Just strength until he was gone.
until he was gone. And then when he was gone was when she broke down because she knew. We noticed both times that she checked with Friday to see really what his condition was, and of course it was not good. But it was, just giving him that last comfort, not seeing her breaking down, knowing from the kid that they won, and then knowing from her that they'll be all right, and that he could rest.
What a great thing, though, for those characters, because we started
so
with
good.
them in 2008 to get to see their relationship develop through ups and downs. Because in it's Civil War that they're not together, right? That he says they've taken a bit of a break. To being married, to having a kid, to finding the life that she wanted to see Tony have so that he could rest and relax and whatever. And you also brought up her conversation with him when he figures out the time travel thing.
Yeah. Because he would never be able to rest. He would never be able to rest until he could do this, because it's, despite the goading of Captain America way back when in the first Avengers movie, he is that guy. He was the guy who went up into space to carry that nuke away, and he was going to be this guy. He had to do it because he wouldn't be able to rest otherwise.
And I think he knew that there was a danger in even making the attempt. A danger not only to what he had, to his wife and his child, but also danger to himself about not coming back. And he says, there's a part of me that thinks I should just lock this thing up and throw it in the lake. And she's like, that's not you, though. You can't do that. So she knows him well enough to know that he would never rest, thinking that there might have been something he could do to fix it.
Yeah.
And between he and Hulk, they do fix it, and they do make things right. Not without cost, not without consequence. And so, we end the film with losing Tony, with the great line, "I am Iron Man." But then we also have to say goodbye to Natasha, who makes the sacrifice because she loves Hawkeye, and she loves his family, and loves who she's become as a part of finding a family of her own in the Avengers. And so she's willing to make that sacrifice for everyone's sake. And that's love. So that sacrifice is a part of saving the day. They don't have the gauntlet without that sacrifice. And then, of course, Steve puts everything back, puts all the stones back, and marks off a little bit of happiness for himself, and then passes on his legacy to Sam. I thought that was a sweet moment. There are a few things about that of note. One, that is he has Thor's hammer with him so that he can take that back, so that Thor can have his hammer in the past. And that he also, as I said before, he repeats, there's a mirror of the line from the first Avenger between he and Bucky. And then when he doesn't come back, but even before Bucky sees the old Steve off in the distance, as soon as he doesn't come back, he has this look on his face like, yeah.
Yep. He knew it.
So, all that was good, and I thought it was interesting that he let Sam have the moment. So many things already said between Steve and Bucky, and so many things that don't need to be said because of their brotherhood, which is really what that is, and just their love for each other and loyalty toward each other through everything. So what else needs to be said, And I think he was just grateful that Steve got to have a life.
Yeah.
And then Sam, likewise, that's the first thing out of his mouth is, did something go wrong or did something go right? And then he tells him he's happy for him, and that's like,
It's true. It's
true, and it's good, and it's a great ending for that character. Yeah. We needed to see somebody get a win.
Somebody get a happy
aside from all the, aside from everybody being back and being alive.
Aside from winning the day, all the sacrifices that our heroes made, somebody had to get a happy ending. You know,
and I love that he gave credit for that to Tony. I thought I'd take Tony's advice, make a life for myself. He saw what it did for Tony. I think it made Tony a better man. I think it made Tony understand his own father better. It made Tony understand what was really at stake in all of that, which is why at first he says no, because I can't lose this, I can't lose what I have. I wanted this for so long, and now I have it. And then sort of the ultimate realization that, for her, but also for everybody who lost somebody like what I have. I have to do this thing.
Yeah.
All of that was so done. Was done so well and so well handled from the opening frame to the last frame.
Yeah, there was nothing about this that I absolutely hated. There, like I said, that one shot in the middle of the battlefield, but after that.
Well, and you said you could have done without Thor's beer belly.
Oh, yeah, sorry. So I'm a little shallow, and I did not care for that at all. I was telling my stepdaughter when we were leaving the theater, driving away, that I would have preferred that to be like an outward projection of his feelings about his failure and everything else, and then when he heroed up, that he'd be back to normal. But no, and also hated the beard. Just hated it. I did. I hated it. It was terrible. Even when he heroed up and it got all like groomed, I still didn't like it very much.
It wasn't groomed, it was braided.
It was, yeah. It didn't even look like the same beard. Whatever. So, not a fan, but it's okay. I can get over that because the rest of the movie is amazing. So, it's fine.
And a few things that we, sort of get as we left this film behind, nods to, not necessarily to things to come, but just giving people a new direction. Mm-hmm. We know that Carol's been out there doing her thing. We don't know where they'll pick up in another movie for her, but we know that she, as she says in the film, there are thousands of worlds going through what Earth is going through, and they don't have the Avengers. So somebody has to be out there, and that's what she's doing. Mm-hmm. I guess since she's primarily composed of energy, she doesn't age or whatever as other people do, so she's out there doing her thing. We get to see Thor going off with the Guardians of the Galaxy, or as he refers to them, the Asgardians of the Galaxy.
So that'll be fun. I really like the dynamic still between Quill and Thor, just because it was just really funny, and of course the entire team goading them into fighting, which would have been really fun. But they were like, no, but that was kind of fun.
Yeah, good stuff there. Chris Hemsworth has such a great sense of humor that I'm glad they've worked that into Thor's personality.
Yes, thank you.
And he and Chris Pratt were great together. Mm-hmm. Just the one-upmanship of all of that was fun. Mm-hmm. Paul Rudd, by the way,
oh my gosh,
just so good throughout this film.
Yes.
I'm not somebody who goes around watching everything Paul Rudd's in, but I was excited when they cast him as Ant-Man because I knew that it would be important to bring some comedy to that kind of a character. Mm-hmm. And he has been so good throughout all the pictures that we've seen him in. His talent for misspeaking things, which he does several times in this film, is just, he carries that nice balance of the drama and the comedy. When he figures out that he's been presumed dead and goes running to find his daughter because her name's not there but his is. Mm-hmm. I got choked up before he ever got to the door, and then when he got to the door and we could see her through the fabric on the window and could tell as she was approaching the window that she was older. As a dad, I just thought, oh my gosh, how would I feel if I missed out on 5 years of a child that I loved every minute of every day and fought to be with. I mean, that's so much of his character in his own movies, and man, it's hard, and I could imagine that just enough that it got to me, it got me choked up, and then him trying to deal with it as best he could, and do that, and then wanting to fix it, wanting to get people back, and his scene with Tony, there's such a charge of drama when he's telling Tony, look, I get it, you got a family, you got a daughter, I'm so happy for you, but other people, I've lost somebody, other people have lost somebody, we need to fix this, and there was such an urgency to that, and he handled that so well. Mm-hmm.
But then he going from the gravitas of all of the entire situation to some of my favorite one-liners in this, including a commentary on Captain America's costume.
Right. Yeah, and then also his line to Tony about, I'm climbing inside of you now. It's like he just doesn't think about the way things sound when he's saying them. Although,
if that line was taken out of context, it could have been spoilers for a lot of the fan theory that was out there. So.
Right. That and him saying, Captain Steve, America Rogers, so he just gets tongue-tied.
But I do love that, at that point in that entire scene right there, Tony and Captain America are they're like, let the big boys talk, and they're just not even paying attention to him.
Yeah.
That was just like,
Yeah.
whatever. I thought that was kind of fun. It's
I love that he was so worried about Hulk messing up one of the Pym particle things, and then he used one accidentally without meaning to.
whoops.
That kind of stuff. I mean, that's just, it's little stuff. But in a movie as heavy as this could have been without those little comedic moments, it really made it bearable to go from, harder things, darker things, to laughing for a minute, relieving a bit. It's like a pressure cooker. You relieve a bit of pressure.
Mm-hmm. So, those moments are definitely gold. Definitely worth it.
Yeah.
There was not, one thing that my stepdaughter also said, that there was not a minute of this runtime that was not well used. So for people who complain about bloated movies or whatever, I feel like this movie was perfect the way it was. Yeah. Although I will reserve judgment based on the deleted scenes that we'll, of course, get in the Blu-rays, and then we'll watch it all together and be like, okay, maybe that could have been deleted.
But even the places where, there are articles online that'll tell you where you can safely go to the bathroom without missing too much. But even those moments were kind of character things or little plot things that we kind of needed to move into the next piece. So I didn't feel like anything was wasted. Again, not every character gets a huge moment, but I felt like most characters got at least a small moment.
We could see them doing something.
To shine, we could see Shuri fighting in that battle. We could see Drax and Mantis fighting in that battle. We could see, Okoye and...
we saw Gamora in that battle.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, they were all there.
So all that was done well. I really liked the notion of Nebula ending her past self, and just, I think for her that was like moving on, but it was really because her past self was going to kill Gamora, and she,
saved her. So doing away with that and putting it behind her. So that was awesome. Yeah.
Lots of really just good, solid character beats.
I like Valkyrie becoming the new queen of Asgard.
Yeah.
That was kind of fun.
That was an interesting move.
Didn't see that coming. Yeah. But that's okay. I think, Thor knew that was an okay decision to make. Yeah. So I'm sure his people all still be about Thor, but whatever.
I liked getting to see the removal of the scepter from the tower, and Loki finding his moment to grab the space stone and get out of there.
So that's okay. Nobody's ever really gone.
Yes. Thank you, Red Letter Media. Anyway, so did you have anything else you wanted to say? Because I feel like we could sit here on camera and talk for hours on end about this.
We've already talked for hours on end about this, but. There's so much that we could cover. We could really pick apart literally every scene, every minute. The de-aging that they did for the 1970s Pym was great. Like, just little things. We got to see Nick Fury just for a minute, but he was there. And I loved that the way that they kind of extended the funeral scene was everybody who was the closest to him, all the way to the people who didn't know him as well, but they were still all there.
But even Harley from Iron Man 3 was there, the boy.
That was the one I didn't know.
3. Yeah, Heidi leaned over and was like, who's that?
Because the thing is, like, everybody, like, you could hear it the crowd in the theaters, like, you could hear, what, who's that? And then some people were like, oh yeah! And I was like, what's that? So it was like, it took a minute, and then I was like, that was amazing that even if it wasn't the same actor grown up or whatever, it was. Okay, so if it was, that's even more amazing. But just calling back to yet another kid that, Tony interacted with and was kind of just practice running for when he was going to be, he didn't know he was going to be a father, but practice running for then.
Yeah, so. But also just the amount of people that they worked back into this, so we got to see them again. We got to see Rene Russo.
Yay!
Yesterday again, we got to see
the Pyms.
We got to see both Pyms again, at the funeral for sure. We got to see. Why am I losing the man's name? It's on the tip of my tongue.
Oh,
Robert Redford. Yeah, Robert Redford as his character from Winter Soldier, and we got to see. The Ancient One, I got to see Tilda Swinton.
Oh my gosh, yeah, we didn't even talk about that scene. So yay, so the wizards were fighting in the Battle of Manhattan. cool.
Yeah, that was cool. Seeing her up on top of there,
Just kind of
knocking beasties down.
Yeah, and so talking about that particular scene, like, she's defending that time stone with everything she's got, and then also like discussing it with Bruce, but like just hearing those words that Doctor Strange gave it up willingly. She's like, willingly. If he did that, then there must be some reason for it. And so if somebody in this particular timeline is asking for it, then she had to give it up. So that was amazing. So yes, seeing like just everything, it pulled together perfectly. They did so good.
Yeah. It was a really great movie all the way around. We highly recommended it in our non-spoiler review. We're saying the same thing here. We
triple pop.
Yeah, highly recommend this movie to you. We assume you've already seen it or you shouldn't have been watching the spoiler discussion. But anyway, those are our thoughts, or at least the ones that we have now. I'm sure we'll be talking privately about this movie for a long time.
Yep.
But yeah, we were super thrilled with this movie, and it really did feel like the culmination of so much. I thought it was a nice nod too when Tony said we're on day 22, and film 22. I thought that was a nice little nod.
To
that they had crossed over from Infinity War into this movie.
Yeah.
That was a nice nod. So much of that, and even the end credits, like there's no end credit scene in this film, as you know, since you've seen it. But I love the original Avengers getting their little signature moments there as a goodbye to them. That was pretty awesome. And apparently Stan Lee's final cameo in this film.
Yeah.
Nice to see Stan again. Always. Nice to see Stan.
But like, and then also like fan stuff. Like, so we saw it a second time. Now I did complain about the guy sitting next to me like giggling the whole time, but he was that giddy about this movie. But also like we were leaving the theater this morning and we were just kind of just sitting and waiting for the crowd to dissipate and just hanging out, and there were people standing up. There's no end credit scene. Like, people were just trying to be nice, and that was kind of cool. Just like, we don't know you, but we're gonna let you know if you don't want to spend more time here, you can just go. And that's kind of nice.
Yeah.
So, but we did.
And we knew last night that there was no end credit scene, but we still stayed to the end of the credits, mainly because
we'd always done that.
We always do that. To me, it seems almost rude. Now, I mean, if we've got somewhere to be or kids waiting on us to get home, and or whatever, we can bail. But most of the time, we try to sit through the credits because it's just our way of honoring all the hard work and effort that goes into those things. So many people working on that stuff behind the scenes.
Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine like all of the moving parts to try to get any of this put together. I mean, there's so many things, so many effects, costumes, just everything, writing and directing. I saw that there were people who were reading stand-ins, there were people who were just stand-ins, like, so for the other scenes that they had to shoot, they had to have people standing in there. It was just, and then all of them had assistants. Also, none of the end credit stuff was alphabetized in any direction. I tried to find what the rhyme or reason was, and I didn't know what it was.
It may have been broken down by like department or something, because a lot of times they have certain groups, like with effects, they always have effects houses broken down into different houses, and so you might see some of the same credits roll by for different effects houses.
Not that, like, names weren't alphabetized.
Oh.
Weird. I know, like, that was something I was trying to figure out, and I was like, but we were sitting there actually we were watching those credits because we had to. One, we'd always done it for every one of these, not only just because of the end credit and mid credit scenes, but also to really pay those respects to literally the thousands of people who brought this together and brought this to the screen. So
Absolutely.
We're thankful and grateful for everybody who worked so hard on it for entertaining us.
Yeah. So hats off to the Russo brothers and everyone else that had their hand in making this particular film a success and really giving us a good cap to 3 phases, 22 Marvel movies. We hear the official end of Phase 3 won't be until we get Spider-Man Far From Home, but man, this just felt like a really good finale, really good ending.
Yeah.
And super excited to figure out where the MCU goes from here and what kind of new things.
If you had told us, like Tony said, if you told us 10 years ago that we would have such a wide universe that we could see, we might not have believed it that it could be brought to screen so well. And so, as great as it is, I'm still worried. I'm like, are they going to be able to keep this going? Because this has been great. I don't want to see it like decline or degrade in any way. I want to see it just keep going and getting better. So it's a lot of high hopes and a lot of worry too.
Yep. All right. Well, we've reached the end. If you stuck it out with us this long,
Thanks.
Thank you so much. We do appreciate that. If you like this video,
hit the thumbs up
and consider subscribing to the channel. We love it when you do that. We're a small channel, so we pay attention to every single person that jumps on here.
Yeah. Love you guys.
And we try to comment when you guys comment. We try to reply or at least like your comment, so that you know we're paying attention. We do read those. We do pay attention, and we appreciate that. Also, just a reminder, we are sponsored by my book, Shadow Plays. Use promo code SHADOW at jpatricklamar.com for 20% off, or you can order it from Amazon. There's just no discount through Amazon unless you just get free shipping or something from them, but that's up to you. I'm always happy to sign them when they come through my website. I think it gives you an option. If you want it signed, I'll do that for you. Anyway, that's it for us. We'll be back with more. You know, we were going to do some trailer reactions this week, and all the ones that we were going to react to were shown in front of Avengers, so we didn't get to do that.
We just privately reacted in the theater.
Yeah, but we will be doing more trailer reactions and stuff like that, and of course more movie reviews. This is going to be a crazy busy summer ahead of us for movies,
and we've got a lot of stuff on the horizon just
personally.
So
absolutely,
that's happening.
So we will be back as often as we can. Until next time, folks.
Bye.